Do number sequences ever catch your eye? Ever wondered what 1111, 1313, 2121 or any number sequence really means? Have you ever searched for the meaning of any number sequences? Well, in this episode with my lovely Lonna, we dive deep into those number sequences, and Lonna brings us even deeper to one of the most powerful number sequences we can start using today to help us not only build our personal power, but to also connect within. I'm really excited for you to listen to this episode, and I'd love to hear your comments. Enjoy!
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. Happy 11/1 or 1/11.
Happy 1/11. Yes, lots to talk about on that today, but
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really good. I feel like over New Year's was a pretty intense kind of transition, I would think. Just leaving 2024 in the past, creating a way forward for the new. I'm feeling really good. I can't say that was the case over the last week or so, but I think Christmas brings up a lot. I think being around family, just kind of a lot of intensity with what's going on in the world right now. So I had to do a little bit of clearing. I spent New Year's by myself. I just cleared out the old and brought in the new in a really grounded, balanced way, and have spent the last week just really purging and getting into a better space. And I actually feel really good. I feel really, really good, really grounded, focused, lighter. So how are you feeling?
Oh, what a lovely way to start the year, to really wash out all the cobwebs before we, embrace this new year. I'm feeling a bit anxious, to be honest. It's like, I don't know, but I've kind of cleansed it just before I hopped on here. I did a little cleaning, and I'm sitting under the full moon here in my car. Well, it's not full yet. It's going to be full in like 2 days. But yeah, I love January.
You were saying that before. You're like, fresh, calm, grounded.
Yes, I'm like, gone with Christmas.
I love Christmas energy, and this is the first time I've been back in 4 years. So it was really nice to actually have snow for Christmas and be around family, because I'm usually in a bikini on the beach at this time, which I will say as a Canadian felt weird every time. So that was nice for the actual day. And, there's some ups and downs always with family stuff. And I think as we continue on our journey, we see, certain things reflected more as things intensify. So I am with you. I feel like for the first time, I'm like, okay, January, it's just a calming, grounded time, and also like a resetting of self. And it's exciting to create, your goals and intentions and what you're moving forward in this year. So I feel you on that. I think as we age, I'm understanding that a little bit better.
And the last full moon of the dragon coming up in 2 days, along with 11/1, is like, it's 2020 now on my watch.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Everything seems like a 1-2 punch right now. We really are in it, and we have to kind of look at why, it's not just like, okay, we're just in it. It's making way for what's coming. It's making way. It's providing us kind of a platform for us to kind of do the work, I guess. But I'm excited, honestly, for what's coming. I think it's going to be intense. I think it's going to be really how much you give energy towards what that looks like for you is going to be how 2025 kind of turns out. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But it's going to be crazy. Let's not sugarcoat it. It will be crazy, but we have control over that. We really do.
We do when we really ground and cleanse and take care of our energy body, especially in January. Just because it's the time of reflecting and going in, like what you were saying.
Yeah, hibernation time. It's time to go inward. It really is. And it's a time to really clear those things, to really, really look at, okay, like this is what I want in my life. This is what's not here. How can I get there? And where, where in my life is that area where it's a little bit sticky? It's like, where am I seeing that stickiness? So removing the obstacles and just taking ownership for your part in it, I think, will allow it to be an easier process for sure.
Yeah. Like surrendering and just accepting and being open to guidance.
Absolutely. And also just knowing your own guidance. I think really tapping in, because there's so much happening like that we're being fed, so many things that are extreme. And that is a time where we can very easily get thrown off by external things, or we can choose to just take that breath and take that moment and really check in with self and really clear that and not take that on as ours. There's no way around what we're in the world. It's just, how does that affect you? And also not giving energy to it. I don't watch the news. I don't do that. I mean, I know what's going on in the world, but giving energy to that and feeding into that is not helping anybody. So
no, definitely not. I'm totally on the same page there. Speaking of the news, what's your perspective on what's been happening in LA and the fires? The deeper meaning.
The deeper meaning. I think there's a few reasons, but I think on a whole, I mean, we understand what's happening with the world and with the weather, and things are amplifying because we are moving towards this shift on the earth plane and in our dimensional plane. So we are moving towards a time where things are amplifying. So we are seeing that reflected in the physicality of the world. We're seeing that, in the earthquake in Tibet, and just the fires, and just there's stuff constantly happening all around the world. And the bigger aspect of that is when these events are happening, it's terrible, but it also allows humanity to come together as brothers and sisters and to really, really unite. And that is actually the main word of what my intention for this podcast today is unity consciousness, and really seeing the beautiful parts of humanity in the chaos. And I think that's the special message to take from this, because we can so easily get lost in the pain and the loss and the destructive components of it. But when you take all that away, it's a rebirthing, it's a purging, and it's a rebirthing. But really, it's pulling humanity together in ways, because you see the heart of humanity. You see people come together. You see how much, when you take away all the other stuff, how much our true core is community and helping and coming from love and support. And we're seeing that very, very much around us in multiple ways, but specifically with the fires right now, it's devastating. But when we look at it, it's fire, it's burning things away. And when you burn things away, what's left? You have to build from that, and you have to come together in community. And I think that's the main thing right now that we're seeing. That's a positive out of this.
That's what really, really made my heart smile so much when the floods happened in Valencia, and people just came out of the woodwork. Thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of volunteers just went straight out to help from all angles of the country. And it was just the most heartwarming thing ever. Like, they got there before the government was even able to take action.
Yeah, I agree. I saw some of those videos, and it's just like people coming out of their homes and helping elderly down the road. It was just, you just do what you got to do. And when you're in that moment and you're not so focused on your life, you're like, there are bigger things happening. Humanity's helping people, helping animals. Like, it's just, you really see that. And when we get out of the media and we get out of everything and we're in real life, which unfortunately this is intense, so yes, but when you take that all away, humanity is good. Their heart is good. They want to help. And that's the core that we need to take away from that, because that's heart healing. That's actually healing our heart space. It's actually coming together. It's healing a lot of things, but really on a core level, co-creation and unity in humanity is really, again, actually that's the way the new world is going to be working. So these are small reflections of how that's possible, I think.
Yeah. Speaking of heart, kind of like healing your heart, what kind of recommendations or what kind of things have you done to work on that?
Woo! I don't even know where to start for that. I feel like that's a constant because our hearts are in 5D always. So
Yeah.
when we know that we're always consciously coming from a higher frequency from that space, I personally have done everything I can to heal that, so it's clear. But heart stuff is hard stuff. It's
Yes.
the
Everybody
hardest
has
thing to
their own.
heal. It's everybody, and that's the hardest stuff. And when our hearts close, and I'm always shown like a quartz crystal in with my work with my clients and with myself, where I see like how much is in there in their heart that needs clearing because it's how smoky it is and how clear it is. We all have heart stuff. I think nadial therapy is really, really good. I think also like working with the energy body, like the nadis, like the energy body in our heart. Sorry, in our energy systems in our body. Heart healing specifically is towards the individual. So where do you feel your heart is closed? I feel like a lot of people feel betrayal or loss or grief, and it's like whatever that focus is for you, really go into it, really allow yourself to honor that process. And like I always say, I really feel like having a witness specifically with heart stuff, really, really healing those elements is really important. Having a witness, having someone that can be there with you in that, and also knowing what it is that you're actually trying to heal. If your heart is, we could probably heal the rest of our lives and we still have heart stuff because there's so many things there. And I think if we are intentionally giving energy to clearing our bodies every day, like I always talk about on these chakra clearing meditations, if you're doing that, you're naturally healing your body each day. And each day you will see where it's different, or, oh, I feel like I've healed that now. Oh, this is coming up now. And it's just a process that never ends. It's this constant checking in with yourself and honoring what's coming up for you and not running from that. And heart stuff is hard because it's the hardest stuff. Grief and betrayal and loss and, like when we're coming from like a lack or, that's more root, but connected to the heart. And it's all about honoring self and just knowing what it is that you need to heal.
Yeah, definitely.
So
You're totally right. It's a personal thing, and it's only the person themselves can really be able to navigate that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You were telling me, we were talking about number sequences just before I started recording. Tell me more about that.
Yes. Okay. I always love this. So, well, today we're on the 111 portal, so that's already a number sequence. I've already done my meditations at like 11:11 this morning, 1:11 today. I'm going to do it at 11:11 tonight. There's so many things to say about this. Number sequences are just signs and symbols from the universe telling you kind of where to focus on. So generally when you start seeing sequencing numbers, it's 111, 222, just like very basic angel numbers. And they generally have, a general message, but it's based on the individual and what it is that you are thinking at that time. So paying attention to number sequences is actually a portal and a gateway to connect to that specific frequency. And there are, for every individual, everyone goes through the process where they see like 1111, and that's more of like an awakening energy. And 222 is like the balance and the partnership and co-creation, and 3 is the artist, and like they're moving into all the creative pursuits, and there's all kinds of things. 5 is change, 4 is just pure angelic love and honoring, 8's dragon, but let's not get into that. 144, if I'm going to say anything, keep your eye out for 144. 144 is what is called 0 point or neutrality energy. And I'm going to be talking a lot more about this going forward, but this is essentially neutral point energy, and it connects you to your masculine and your feminine in your full embodied space. And it's actually a gateway to open yourself up to connecting to higher dimensional frequencies and planes. And when you do that, you have the ability to heal pretty much everything. You can heal all elements of your cellular memory, your imbalances, and it just connects you also with your lineages, and it connects you with the energies that you are meant to be working with. We have so many soul fragments and so many aspects of self at play out there. And what we really need to do is call in these parts of self that pertain to this particular lifetime, that pertain to us actually utilizing these power points. And we can't do that when we have our bodies all clogged up and bogged down with debris, energetically and physically, with what we ingest, you know, what we take in. So when we have these corresponding numbers, or these numbers that are constantly showing up for us, that's a sign. And pay attention to what you are thinking about at the time you see these numbers, because it generally pertains to some thought form or something that's coming through for you. And when you see that repeated and it keeps coming up, it's kind of like a bonk on the head from the universe to be like, pay attention. It's a little alarm kind of being like, or if it's like 444, it's very much like, we are here and we love you and you're supported, and just, keep going kind of thing. It depends on that, but there's varying degrees of number sequences. Everything is numbers. Everything is numbers. When you know how to tap into that patterning, you also know how to step outside of that. And that is what sequencing numbers and certain elements are there to show you. And there's a level of that. I'm accessing gateways and portals and things that I could 5-6 months I was getting the same number. I was like, I have no idea what this is. Like, why is this coming to me? And then it all just clicks. It always just clicks if you just keep pushing. I was so frustrated. I'm not going to lie. I was like, what is this number sequence coming over and over? And 144 is an interesting one because it's in the Bible, and there's a lot of like misunderstanding about it, because everyone's like, there's 144,000 light workers here, and there's 144,000 beings, that Christ is going to save and like in salvation and go up to the God or go up to heaven. And it's just like, again, a lot of distortion energy. But 144, pay attention to this. This is something very powerful. And when you connect to that, you connect to the quantum field of all infinite possibility. You connect to everything that is not in form yet. And you actually activate all the dormant DNA that is meant to be activated. So everybody comes in. There's 12 root races that are part of humans' DNA. And each of us come from different places and spaces and have different, galactic lineages. So when we understand our soul processes, where we've been, who we are, but also who we're connected to, we know how to activate that dormant DNA with very specific frequencies and understanding. And that is connecting you to your heart. It's connecting to you to multiple parts of self, to your entire cosmic team, your cosmic family. And that is priceless. Like the amount of support that you can get, information, and just a back and forth. And yeah, we are here for really difficult things. And when we have that love and support, and we have that commitment to self for our mission and why we're here and what we're here, whether we're here to, help the world and whatever that is, or just help ourselves and the people around us, it doesn't really matter. It's just connecting to yourself and honoring your highest form. And when you can connect to, like, kind of bypass the frequencies that are here to kind of keep us, which we can talk about at another point. I don't want to go down that road quite now, because we'll focus on a dark podcast one day, and we'll go into all the negative alien agenda, all this, like, we'll get into all this stuff, but it's there. Let's not minimize it, but we have the ability to bypass that. We do not have to be affected by that, and that's what this is all about, the 144. And I highly recommend anybody listening to this to really just go in on your own time and just sit with 144 and what that looks like to you, and if it looks like anything to you, and research that, and you'll see that starting to come into your periphery more, because this is something that they do not want us to know. This is extremely powerful. It's unlimited power, really, and all of us have that ability to connect to that. So I highly encourage that, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But 0 point energy, also neutrality, it's essentially the same element that Buddhists seek in their light body practices. It's finding that middle ground. So it's almost like when you're coming like through, how do I explain this in a way? It's almost like you can bypass both sides. It's like a little pinhole that if you get the right energies, you can go through that pinhole, and then everything's expanded. But you gotta connect your energy so you can go through that pinhole, and that's what 0 point energy is. So portals, yeah, but the 111 portal is one of the ones which I would really love to talk about today, just because Well, it's 111 today, or should I say 11? 111. It's not 111. It's 11. How do we say that?
Well, it depends if you're in Ireland, we say 11-1. And on this side of
11-1.
the word. But I think I'm not sure if you're the same as America. Is America and Canada, they say like November, what are we now? Sorry, January 1st, or do you say the 1st of January?
January 1st.
Yes, so we say the 1st of January. So we would be 11-1 and you're 111.
Yeah, but I'm like, but 111 to me would just be like the first, like January 1st. So
yeah.
I don't know.
It's all the same, I think.
It's all the same. But either way, we're in a portal day, and I mean, there's always a portal on this day, but it's amplified because we're moving into Cancer full moon in 2 days. So essentially the portal today is, and we also have our north node and our south node shifting, which will be shifting for the next 18 months. And that is all about our forward movement and what's keeping us safe. So our north node is about where we're moving towards, what we're moving into. That might be a little bit uncomfortable and we might have a little bit of hesitation over. And our south node is what we are comfortable in, what we're good at, but also can keep us safe and contained. We're meant to be moving out of our south node energy and into our north node energy. And this is also a collective, as well as how it affects the individual. And our north node is moving into Pisces, which is creation. And it's all about, being connected to higher energies and really implementing that here in the physical. So you can see that actually quite reflected. And Virgo we're moving into south node Virgo, which is all about like really cleaning up shop and getting things cleaned up and moved out so we can really embody the manifestation energy, which is what I'm going to talk about with this portal, because that's what this is all about. It's all about shifting our relationship to power and how that looks like for us. And really what this portal is bringing in is a shifting of the new conscious relationship that we're trying to cultivate as a whole society, but also as an individual. And it's really about eliminating the mentality of power over something, which like is creating
hierarchical thing.
Yes, and it's also that grind mentality, that hustle, that's what we've been conditioned to be in for all this time, and it's very patriarchal. It's a masculine energy, and it's very much about forward, push, hustle, make it done. And that was a valued characteristic. That was like, oh, you're a hard worker, those types of things. And it's really about cultivating a new relationship with money in the way where it's power with. It's a co-creation and it's a unity energy, which I was talking about, because really how powerful we are in the world is our connection to our personal power space. And we've been conditioned to grind, and to have this element of separation in that. And that is what we are eliminating. There's no room for that in this world. And the new paradigm and the consciousness that we're moving into requires us to eliminate that, because we are moving into creating a relationship with money, with power, with how we interact with the world in a unity consciousness way, in a way where tribal way, like we were talking on the last podcast. It's really about coming together in community and co-creating with high frequency beings that are on your level, and that will elevate you and you will elevate them, and you're continuing to grow. And there really is that, pardon?
Through our hearts.
Exactly. And when we come together and we're coming into a space of community where we have a role to play, it's so nourishing, where we're like, that's what I bring to the table. And you don't compare yourself with anybody else. You're like, this is what I'm bringing. You feel good in yourself and in your role, and you're honored for that, and you honor others for what they bring. And that is the consciousness. That is 5D consciousness. That is what we are moving into. That's what our hearts are already in. It's just we need to heal that, get out of our own way, so we can find and connect with the beings that we're meant to co-create with, because that's the way the world is moving, and we need to be in community. That is more and more evident to me all the time. And that's pretty much the way that we will move into a higher frequency in this earth plane, which is what we are doing. And how that's going to look, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but if we can position ourselves in the best place possible with the best people, with the best tools and resources, then we will hope. I don't know what this is going to look like. I feel like this frequency shift's going to be crazy, but all we can do is try and prepare as much as we can, and that's on us. That's on us, and making sure that we take the time and the ownership to really do that, because that's what is required, and that's what this portal is bringing. And also the Cancer full moon in 2 days is clearing all your heart space, everything heart space. Everything is going and releasing that's being pulled up, because this is manifestation time. This is time to manifest and shift our relationship with our personal power. And that is the year of the dragon. That is what the year of the dragon is. That's what we've been in. That's the last final push. That's just like, that's what dragon does. Like, they're just gonna, carry the torch until the very end and pass it to the serpent, which is just a perfect balance of just like, well, you think you've purged. Well, you're purging more. Pull off the skin and shed everything now. So yeah, I'm really about the, the dance of co-creation with the divine, and really just knowing why you're here, knowing what your mission is, connecting to those parts of your soul fragments, yourself, your guides, to be like, what is it I'm meant to be doing here? Because when you have that clarity, you're not like, it eliminates the questions, the wondering, the what if, the in between. It's like, okay, I have now a focused way forward. How I do that, I don't know, but it's okay that you don't know that. It's just knowing self, knowing also who you are. Like I was saying about the root races, it's like, what is your lineage? What is your genetic lineage? Who is your cosmic lineage, your galactic lineage? And try and connect with them, because they're there. They're trying to connect with you. And we are so powerful. And I feel like if we just understand the tools that each of us are bringing in, and everyone's unique and different, but there are general things across the board that we can do as humans that might seem superhuman, but it's not. We just need to understand this is possible. We've done this before, because believe it or not, we've been in higher frequency places. That, like, Earth has been in way higher frequency than this. We are on a lower frequency and an upswing up. So that's the clearing out and all the shadow aspects that we are seeing right now. But it's really about having mentality is everything. Choosing the positive polarity is so key, because there truly are circumstances and beings and things happening around us where we're seeing like widening points of like divergence between groups and relationships. And we're seeing a divergence with beings that are normally in the same frequency, that normally walk through life and that are co-created, that are in relationship together. And these widening points of divergence with you, which you and I have been calling the Great Divide, you are seeing more and more of a dissonance with the people and the places and the spaces that were always in resonance for you. So relationships, even neighbors, like it could be so basic, but it will get to the point where I call it like a energetic chasm. That's kind of what I've said, but I'm like, essentially the chasm becomes kind of too wide in the interaction between the individuals, and the threshold is reached, like it maxes out. And then that can create what I call like, it's an abrupt collapse and essentially a redirect into a void space of timelines. So you're essentially with someone that you've been friends with for years, you haven't seen each other for a little while, you come back together for a lunch, and you're just like, you're speaking another language. They're there in front of you, you're talking, you know all about them, but that energetic, that heart connection, that love, it's where it was. It's not growing and changing. It's not alive anymore. It's a void space. And then you're talking to a robot and they're like, who are you? It's just a dissonance, right? And it's not that they're not there and they're not in your life, but it really does create a dissonance with each individual person. And when we continue to raise our frequency, those people will naturally fall away. And the right people will naturally align and harmonize and create that higher frequency that we desire. And we're going to see that more and more. And also with the jab, that's a thing. And I'm noticing this very much with, the vaccinations, and it does affect your personality. And I'm seeing that reflected. Coming back to Canada, everybody is vaccinated. And where I was living, nobody was vaccinated. And I'm seeing people in my life, I'm looking at them and they're robots. I genuinely, I'm like, you don't hear what I'm saying. I was like, I'm telling you something that you should have an emotional reaction to, and you just stare at me blindly. Like, there are just things that you're noticing, and there's that divide, and it's nobody's fault. Like, we need to always remember we need to come from love here, and there's no judgment ever. It's just where we are in our process and where the individual around us is, and that is going to be more and more prevalent, and we will see that going forward more. And that's why it's so important to know what your frequency is, because then you're not taking others in, you're not taking other stuff in, you're really aligning with the people that are on the same frequency as you. Because you can't, if you surround yourself by low frequency energies, whether that be TV, like I'm not even talking about individual beings, just like what you're inputting, news, media, spaces, hospitals, I hate to say it, just low frequency places, they're difficult to be in when you move to a higher frequency, and you just naturally will not go there, and you will naturally not integrate or connect with those type of people. And that is the divide that we're seeing between beings who will stay in the 3D energetic and in that cycle, and ones that will push through, essentially break out of that into their personal power, move through the 4D, because we're in 4D right now is full shadow aspects. Everything, there's a lot of darkness, dark entities, a lot of distortion, a lot of manipulation externally. That's why it's really important to have your energetic practices, keep yourself clean, keep yourself clear, and don't align with negative energies, negative polarities, and just understand your frequency, your power. And you won't be touched in that space when you own yourself fully. And call on your guides, call on everything. Have your salt baths, eat your good foods. Like, we need that comfort too. It's hard, and it's not getting easier in the next little while. So we need to really make sure these practices are in place for us to stay healthy.
Yeah, we need to like pop ourselves in a purity bubble every day.
I do. It's so funny you said I do that. I actually have. Yeah. That's so funny. You're definitely reading my mind. A purity bubble. That's what I call it. That's just so funny.
Yeah. I do as well. No, I do. I have to put, like, obviously after cleansing my energy in the morning and everything, we have to protect our energy, because it will just be like rained.
I don't get out of bed without doing it. And as a shadow worker, I will say there's been dark energies, a lot of dark energies around that I've had to really consciously clear. And like, it's with my clients too. Like, it's just very, very heavy, and they're feeding off the fear. They're feeding off the amplifying energies, the pain, the grief, the loss. They're feeding off of that. So they want us to stay fearful, and they want us to maintain that lower frequency. Yeah. But
something's coming to my mind. Sorry to interrupt you there. Something's coming to my mind that if somebody's out there listening and they're thinking to themselves, but we have to have empathy for those who are suffering out there. We can still have empathy, but firstly, protecting ourselves first. Like, we can 100%. Send love and empathy out to all of those people who are suffering out there in the world. That doesn't mean we're selfish, because we're not letting that energy overtake us or overcome us or drain our energy. It's not being selfish. It's actually the opposite.
Yep, it's empowering self. I absolutely agree. And I think we can always come from empathy. We can always be loving and have unconditional love and understanding, but also hold your own boundary, because it really the pain that everybody's in, everybody also has their own journey, their own timeline, and their own process. So I will never look at someone's journey and be like, why are you doing that? Like, or how did that happen? Or, and it's not that I don't feel bad. I just have an understanding that everything that we are going through, there is a lesson there, and we need to understand that. But always come from empathy. There should never be judgment on anybody else's journey ever. Mm-hmm. And when someone is suffering, and that doesn't change in any way the pain and suffering that they're going through. And we should always send love. a non-negotiable for me. I never come from a space that isn't that way, and there's just no more room for non-judgment.
Yeah, of course not. Of
Or
course.
sorry, for judgment. There's no room for. There's just no room for it, and I'm like, we have to be understanding and loving, and try to, you know, again, come from the tribal way and think about walking the road in somebody else's shoes, like try and put yourself in their space and
without getting sucked into that low energy. That's the trick.
That is the tricky part, but knowing yourself and having those practice. I put up protections before I even leave the bed. I do a lot of practice before I get out of bed, and then again before I sleep. And I highly recommend everybody doing that, whatever their own version of that is, or just checking in with self and just clearing and knowing kind of where your heart space is. Because when you wake up and you connect with self, and then you go out into the world and you just shift, you're conscious of that. There's the self-awareness to be like, whoa, I'm being affected by this external thing. Yeah. And then you know that, and then you go home and you clear it, and it's not yours. You don't take it on, rather than doom scrolling or looking at all the stuff and like getting caught up in the pain and getting caught up. The only thing I doom scroll on is animal videos where animals are best friends, or like, I love the ones where like soldiers come home from war or something, and like the animals haven't seen them in like a year. These are the things I find joy in, or animal videos, or animals and humans, because their relationship is becoming really different. Beautiful, the symbiotic relationship that animals are having with each other. Lions and lambs are best friends, being raised together. There's animals that are like elephants that are pets, and like, it's just, there's a beautiful connection with that we're actually seeing on videos now, because everybody has phones, but there is a shifting in the consciousness with the animal kingdom as well, and we can really, really see that. It's really, I love watching that. That's what I get caught up on. But yeah, the good part.
That's so funny you say that. Literally, I just hop onto Instagram because I try to stay off social media as well, but I'll always kind of look through the little funny animal videos and literally just send them to my friends. Just a little funny.
It's cute, and they're just like, I don't know, I love connecting with nature that way, and it just makes me happy seeing animals that would never play together, or like squirrels bringing, someone, each day like an acorn as a thank you for something. Like, it's just the cutest thing. Like, you just see it a lot in the oceans too. You see a lot of that in the oceans. It makes me happy. But yeah, I try not to. I don't go on social media very often, so.
Yeah. And have you got any other nuggets of information that you'd like to share?
Off the top of my head, I feel pretty complete with that. I feel like really just, no, I think I really wanted to talk a lot about just unifying the masculine, feminine in self, because there's a lot of distorted energies. There's a lot of things happening externally that are there to deliberately create confusion in our masculine, feminine energies within our body. And when we can integrate those two elements, we then access everything else, and then we just become more centered in self, and we can operate from a very different space. So that and self-care.
And by balancing our masculine and energy, do you mean our masculine and feminine energy? Do you mean focusing on 144 number or a different technique?
I feel that, well, the 144 is a unifying energy. It's actually it's a unifying energy of the masculine, the feminine, and the child. So it is connected to it, but I feel like it's a little bit of it's a convoluted concept. So I would say to start, just try and connect the masculine, feminine. I would say look into the 144, because that's a convergence of the two energies coming together. And if you can work with that energy, absolutely. But really, I would say for your masculine and your feminine, work with your chakras, work with your energy body, understand what feminine feels like to you, what masculine feels like to you, and where are the imbalances in that. And this is also really good, where I really like to use my animal medicine cards for that. It's really beautiful to tell you kind of like, this is the energy you embody as the masculine, as the feminine. And like, if I pull a really feminine card for the masculine and then like the opposite, I'm like, wow, okay. So that's really interesting to me, that like, and you can kind of understand where things are a little imbalanced, or, but it has to be the individual, because what we think as masculine and feminine, and what we're told isn't necessarily what it is for our body, because all of us come from many planetary systems. Our DNA is so much more to it than you understand, and activating these dormant aspects of your DNA is meant to happen at certain points in your life to activate skill sets, to activate, whatever is needed for your path going forward at that time. So I would say focus on just trying to find the balance of self within the masculine and feminine. And the way to do that is understanding your energy system, understanding your chakras, clearing your heart. There's so many beautiful heart clearing meditations, and like your little day-to-day moments, like when you're out and you just be aware of how you could help someone, or just where there's a way where you can give and come from unconditional love in your actions, and just help people start thinking differently. Helping someone across the road, or like someone drops something, pick it up. Be like little, it's just like we need to start coming from the way of Buddha and of Christ consciousness, of the Sophia, like of the consciousness in which we are meant to be embodied in. And it's here, it's super present. We just need to access it. And once we start finding that balance, it's so powerful, and it will just blast everything else open, because everything's now activated and you can work with your true self, which is really exciting.
It's amazing. I love that. Oh, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I could talk about this all day, I love our little chats.
I can't wait for our next episode when we dive deeper, and you can tell us a little bit more about what's going on deeper.
Yes. Baby steps. I didn't want to bombard too much.
Thank you for those of you who have your ears open, and hopefully your mind a little bit more open, and hopefully with some new extra tools and intentions to focus on for the month of January. I wish you all a lovely month, and see you next time. Take care.